Hi, I'm Carol Wilson, Editor-at-Large of Light Reading, and I'm here with Tom Anschutz, Distinguished Member of Technical Staff at AT&T Labs, correct?
Yes.
So Tom, you just gave a very interesting presentation here at our NFE and Carrier SDN event in Denver, and you talked a lot about moving to the second generation of VNFs where you're disaggregating a lot of the functions. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, so, well, I guess I should start with the first generation to compare what we're looking for in the second. In our first generation of VNFs, what we found generally is that existing vendors of a certain kind of function, or PNF, vertically integrated box, would come along and take their software and port it to a server, port it to x86.
But they didn't really re-architect the software in the process.
No, that was the quickest way to get to market and to fit into existing systems was not to change it so very much. So they still had the same bundle of functions, and they were still operated with the same kind of element management system as came before.
Okay.
And that was great to get started. But we take on more complexity by doing virtualization. We need to have a payback in simplification of the workload in some form or fashion.
Okay.
And that's what we're looking for in this second generation.
Okay.
So in the second generation, we talk about disaggregating VNFs, taking that vertical or bundle, it's not vertical, it's bundled set of software functions and teasing them apart into simpler, more reusable kinds of capabilities.
And some of those are going to be common functions that can be used across a lot of different things, right?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah. So we're not interested in having everything down to such a small granularity that it's very, very complex, but it's clear that, for example, if I have gateways in my network, and I do, right? I've got some gateways that are a bundle of functions that serve mobile customers, others that serve broadband wireline customers, and if I look inside them, the subscriber management and the authentication is slightly different between mobility and wireline.
Okay.
But the aggregation, the routing, a whole bunch of common functions exist between these two gateways that if I started thinking of them not as a gateway, as a bundle, but as a composition that has some subscriber management, some aggregation, and some forwarding and routing functions, that a lot of these I can use over and over and over again. You can imagine forwarding and routing.
Right.
When does that not appear somewhere in the network, right?
That's true. So AT&T has gone farther with this, though, in the sense of, particularly in areas, the work you've done with Cord and looking at how, what the next generation OLTs looks like. You're talking about that, and also some of the work you're doing with the Open Compute project.
Right.
And tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay. So, we've created these new hardware elements through the Open Compute project that are sort of designed to work with the cloud.
Okay.
And so we've pulled a lot of complexity out of the hardware because we can frankly run the software that used to run in the hardware in the cloud adjacent. Just like a peripheral for a regular computer often has a driver that runs in the CPU of the computer to actually manage the peripheral you attach. Same basic concept.
Okay.
And so we were able to create simplified hardware. And then when we took the software that ran there and put it into the cloud, that's the Cord part, we found that we were able to apply these four cloud principles and show how you create drivers and services that are not one monolithic block of code, but rather they're based on what they call microservices, that the code is distributed across multiple servers. If any one of them fails, the code continues to run. Right. It's a capacity incident when a failure occurs, not an availability incident. Okay. So that's really exciting, right?
and those are when those servers, as you've said a couple times, become cattle and not pets. They don't need, as you said, one server failing is going to take a service down.
Right.
But you've done this now most recently with the XJSPON spec, and tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so our newest spec, and it just was approved by OCP in the last weeks.
Oh wow! Okay.
Is for XJSPON. That's a 10, XGS stands for 10 gig symmetric. And so it's the same kind of PON. In fact, it will work on the same fiber that's already been deployed for Gigapower or AT&T fiber. Okay. And, but it provides 10 by 10 gig. So it's a great way to get started for what we see coming. Everybody wants more bandwidth. And then there's all of the hype around all the wonderful information around 5G that says that we might have to have lots of backhaul from many more cells, and densification of cells and whatnot. Perfect technology match there.
Okay, so this is the way in which you're obviously your operations costs are dropping because you're not having to do all this. monolithic systems, as you said, that you
Right.
have at each time. You're doing a much broader operations kind of model.
Right, and when I talked about operations, some of the things that we've been doing, because we have access to the code and we can sort of massage how it works, what it does, we've tried to follow patterns that were frankly established by the IT industry for self-assembly or
Okay.
working out dependencies, right?
Right.
The example, when you install something in Linux, it knows what you have needed to get that thing going and gets it automatically for you. The same kind of thing has happened in Cord. When we add a subscriber to the Cord system, the subscriber has a sort of high-level set of dependencies. You know, the subscriber needs an access, they need an internet link, and these things then get put in place, they get composed, and then their set of dependencies gets worked out so that we don't have to have operation systems that pre-provision
Right.
VLANs and go
Right.
and do things at a very, laborious pace
Right.
before somebody gets service.
Okay, so you're only turning stuff up when you need to. So that
Yes.
makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Great. Tom, thanks for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you too, Carol, for having me. I really appreciate it.